Hey, Leigh, thank you so much for being here today with me. This is really a super honor to be here with you. I'm a big fan of crazy shit in real estate. That's for sure. It's a
I'm
good
a
one.
big fan of that jewelry you have on, sister.
Yeah, thanks. I've got my camera backwards here a second. Thank you. This is my first year, so I'm the class of 2020 for RPAC and for, President's Circle. In fact, I will share with you, or I want to tell you that last time I saw you was at the Fontainebleau Hotel when we were down there in Miami Beach.
The last good event before coronavirus.
President's Circle, remember? Oh, I know. And so I chatted with you briefly outside the Caroline Kennedy conversation that we all had there. And my most recent podcast was about that clock in the lobby. I don't know if you remember it, but it's okay. So I'll launch right into the clock because that's kind of a way that this was the last time I saw you. And so it was kind of memorable, but in the lobby, when you check into the Fontainebleau, if you kind of turn back to the left, there's a gift shop behind you, a little like sundries store, right? Next to it is a grandfather clock, and it's kind of off to the side, and I didn't really pay attention to it at first. And then my boyfriend Brian looked at it, and he's like, Christy, this thing is funky. Come look at this. And the face of the clock was a hologram, and the numbers were all around like a regular clock face. And when you looked at it, the hands of the clock didn't quite look right. And so we stood there for a second, and pretty soon this hologram of this old lady came up, and she looked at the time. And then she backed up, and then she took a cloth and she cleaned part of the screen, and then she backed up. And then when it was time for her to change the time, she came to the screen and she erased the line to draw a new minute. And then she got out her Sharpie and she drew the new minute to whatever it was, from 4:28 to 4:29. Or whatever. And then she'd disappear, and then it would kind of, whatever. And then the next minute, here she is. And so my last week's podcast was about the ability to sometimes erase some bad minutes in your world. But isn't that the funkiest clock?
It's so creepy.
Totally. So it's like, how many people are in that lobby? And we were all there. You would have walked by it when you left the elevators and went toward the conference area. It would have been on your right around the corner when you passed the reception
and I
desk.
never noticed it.
Yeah. So anyway, that's where we were. And so it's kind of a good thing to talk with you. And that was our last time together after this whole.
And now I want to go back to Miami so I can go in the lobby and see this clock.
Check it out. Yeah, I actually Googled it, and it's from some Martin Bass, I guess. I don't know. It's some feed of something. They're one of a kind stuff. I don't think you can buy them, but I don't know. It's fascinating.
It's probably some artist who gave it to the Fontainebleau for some special memory.
I think so. I think so. Really, really cool. So when I saw you there, we kind of chatted because before that I saw you at another event and inspired people to do podcasting, and you had talked about some of the things to do, and that's when I started to subscribe to your show and others, and kind of got pretty excited about the idea of what I could do in the world of podcasting. So right after you and I saw each other in February at the Fontainebleau, I launched the Dependent Agent. I felt there was a need for there to be a good open dialogue about dependency, addiction, and mental health in real estate.
And little did you know the coronavirus would hit us.
Boom, boom. It was horrible, yeah. So then I was like, well, let's talk about how, because I'm a recovering addict. I went to rehab November 8th of 2017 and just celebrated my 1,000th day sober on August 5th. Yeah, thank you. So in my leadership in real estate, which I know you and I have some connections and some similar pathways. I'm kind of coming up through Texas, and you're in North Carolina, and NAR and all that fun stuff that I'm just scratching the surface on. By the way, I got into the 2021 NAR Leadership Academy.
Did you?
Yeah. So thank you. So I'm super
list,
excited.
I didn't memorize all the names on it yet.
Yeah, it's okay. I was just like, whoa, that's so cool. But through this path of leadership, I started to recognize some of our things we might need to watch in terms of how we're portraying ourselves and what kind of reputation or community we're developing in real estate, because so much of it revolves around alcohol. And I'm a big fan, and I'm a big fan of a good time. And obviously I was a big fan of the booze because I was a little too big of a fan. But I just thought, you are such a good, strong, powerful voice, and I know that you're always very kind of conscientious of us as a realtor body. And I just kind of wanted your feedback on the issue of some of the mental health challenges. I know we got crazy, right? But then this, and so I just kind of would love to have your insight, just a little bit on the general topic, and have a convo.
Well, on the general topic, everybody knows I get up at 4 a.m. and I go to bed at 9 o'clock. And so part of the reason for that is I'm wired to be a morning person.
Uh-huh.
But the other one is trouble happens after 9 o'clock at night. I mean, it's one of the things my dad told me coming up is nothing good happens after curfew, so you may as well be home. And I've seen it in realtor world. I've had to scrape too many people up out of the bottom of elevators. I've had to go find a member's pocketbook that she left at a bar and then couldn't remember where it was. We don't know how we got her back. And I've seen the over-the-top behaviors, and I feel like it's prevalent in our world because realtors have to be so on stage at home in their markets, and then they go to an event and they feel like it's their one safe place to cut loose, and then they don't know how to moderate that. And so we do see it to the point where it's a constant conversation with the Young Professionals Network that they're known as just happy hour cocktail people, but our young realtors are doing amazing things in the profession and in their communities, but the message is getting lost because the YPN network has gotten a reputation that, maybe is deserved, maybe not. I mean, that's a different discussion to have, but it flavors the work you're able to do later because you get colored by somebody else's behavior. And so I've always been the person at realtor events. Everybody knows this. I carry around a club soda with a lime in it, so it looks like I'm drinking. So I look like I'm sociable. But if I'm going to have a cocktail, it's later and it's with friends and it's in private and it's one so that I can function at 4 a.m. when I get up to run. I know I will say that I've been drinking more during coronavirus time than I ever have in my life because we're at home and frankly it's cheaper that way, but still it's
Well, you talk about here, I'm in Texas, we've got Governor Abbott, one of the first things he did was make sure that bars and restaurants could deliver the booze, so I was like, ooh, but it's okay, and I think
as like a recovering person, you often get colored as a teetotaler, Carrie Hatchett kind of a person. You're going to destroy the world, and no, you just knew where you personally were and had to make decisions that were the best for your health and for your family.
Yeah, that's all.
And I just think that in our space, we don't do a good job of moderation, but frankly, realtors don't do a good job of moderation anyway. They work 20 hours a day and then they put themselves in last place. They don't exercise. We have high rates of divorce. We have high rates of obesity in our profession. So we're extreme people anyway because of the drive that it takes to succeed. I mean, there's so many different ways you could parse it, but it does concern me, and I've seen it, and I miss my realtors when this coronavirus time hit. I miss the humanity. I don't necessarily miss the cocktail hours, although we've had a lot of conversation about that. The week that we're recording this has been Leadership Summit week, and typically you're in leadership stuff all day, and then you have social hours at night, which involve alcohol, but it's more than that. It's we sit down and we hear each other and we talk to each other. And I think it becomes
belly to belly.
It's a social lubricant more than anything. But I will say that on the other angle, during the era that we're in, outside of the substance piece, there's a lot of realtors that are in really challenging mental states right now because we are such a profession that's used to Rotary Club and BNI and client meetings, and we're used to being with other people in so many ways. Hugs, church, I mean, all the places that we network, we're just networking people, and that's been taken away. And I don't care who you are and what your story is, Zoom is not the same thing. And so a lot of realtors are feeling really isolated and low, and I can't tell you how many conversations I've had with people around the country who feel like they're the only one until, and I include this in my presentations right now, like, if you think you're alone, I promise you, you're not. They reach back out and they're like, oh my God, I thought I was the only one. Something's wrong with me. I'm like, nothing's wrong with you. We're in a really challenging time, and it's not the money because we're busy. It's the loss of interaction and relationship. So I'm so glad that you got your podcast going because it frankly could come at a better time because It's not sexy to talk about mental health. It's not sexy to talk about the medication that's available. One of my good realtor girlfriends, she texted me, she was all excited because she got her prescription refilled. And I said, I'm so glad that you did, because I need you to do what you have to do to stay
Be
up.
okay. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. That it gets real. And, I think it just, after my experience, and I did a lot of transformation myself personally over the last year, which has been wonderful. But I do think in our new era in real estate, this conversation, yes, I just want to keep it going, because I want people to know they're supported out there. They're not alone. This is uncharted territory too. This is uncharted waters. We don't really know even, some of the ramifications. And so I think it's a good topic. And I hope as we move forward, maybe with a new dialogue about healthcare, that some counseling services might be available. I'm making a push here to kind of, when you join an association, to get some helpful resource numbers and just some ways to kind of give people some other avenues. NAR's got a new telehealth program out, and I know there's some advantages there, right? So
It includes mental health, because I was really proud of our association that they made sure of that. And I got to show you this, since you talk about numbers. Do you know anybody at the Greater LA Realtors? Where did my little book go?
LA as in Los Angeles?
Yes. So they lost a member to, I think they lost her to suicide even. So they put out a journal book, which has, of course, the Greater LA stuff in it. It's got all the notes in the book.
Yep.
In the back, please, I pledge to call someone when I'm in need and to be there to listen. And in the back of there, it's got the Suicide Prevention Veterans Crisis Line.
Yep.
Substance abuse, gambling addiction, the Trevor Project, and the Los Angeles LGBT Center, and please call 911. And they put this in the book that they gave all members. And so their president actually reached out to Vince Malta, who's the president of the National Association of Realtors, to say, can we do something more as an association to make sure that resources are out there? And of course, as an association, you've only got so many fires you can put out at any time.
And there's a few big ones.
But the president in LA this year, Ryan Olhouse, he and I were talking about the fact that it's because it's such a taboo topic. We'll talk about everything else. We talk about sex and religion and politics and abortion and guns and illegal immigration. And you talk about all these
crazy clients and
political items. And we don't want to talk about mental health, boy, because that's too much. It's just crazy.
Yeah, it feels like a sign of weakness, right? And we're in an environment where we're competitive in negotiations, and you don't want to let your guard down. I experienced a little bit of that when I was coming out of it, was a worry about how I was going to be treated as a professional. I had some problems, but I still had some acumen. I could still do this job. I've been at it 15 years. I can still do this stuff. And so, it's good I'm so happy to hear about that. I didn't know about it. I'm kind of just breaking into the surface of what's already out there.
Well, you may need to have Ryan on your show. He'll be a good.
Oh, yeah, I will. Definitely. Thank you. Yeah, I will definitely reach out, because I would love there to be a little consistency, or just to get this going a little bit in the era of compassion and support. It's not a bad also way to say, hey, we take care of a lot of others. Realtors are good neighbors, but we also take care of the inner soul too. And that's okay to call for help and say, I'm not doing so hot, and I need a little help, and to build that conversation.
Think about it, with the shutdown that's happened with coronavirus, it's not just how our businesses have been affected, but the places that people have always been able to fill themselves back up, the number one being church or synagogue or mosque or temple or wherever it is that you go for a faith life. Those are one of the first places to get shut down, one of the hardest to get reopened. I mean, in Texas, you guys have had more chance to get them reopened. There's still...
It's hit or miss. Yeah.
North Carolina is still very policed. And of course, in Nevada, I still can't believe the Supreme Court said casinos were okay, but churches were not, which also tells you that there's not support for that development of community that can solve a lot of the issues that happen in here that we do for and with each other. And realtors need to be willing to speak up for that stuff, because we have to be, if we're going to help our communities, it's always got to be more than houses, because there's so much more to our neighbors than just the real estate that they buy and sell.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. We're inherent. We're built in our code to take care of each other and treat each other fairly and all that good stuff. And always remembering, yeah, number one too. Hey, I know it's Leadership Week. Thank you. I'll just cut this one short for you so you can scoot. But it was just great to get a chance to broach the topic with you and kind of again keep a dialogue going. And I'm looking forward to some comments and a little bit of chatter on the various outlets, the the Facebook, Instagram, YouTube world, and see what we can get going and keep the dialogue going and support some of the good work that's out there. Thank you for bringing forward some of those, some of the efforts that are out there. We just got to get a little more energy behind some of that good stuff. And I think it'll help take away some of the stress and anxiety that we're all feeling from the bad.
And I'm just grateful that you're willing to get the conversation going. And I'm hopeful that more agents and brokers and volunteer leaders will share their own stories with you and help people see that it's not a perfect world for anybody. And the more we realize that our imperfections are what are supposed to help drive us together, we can get people through even oddball times like a global pandemic. And that's what community is supposed to do. And realtors are good at community. We can't shy away from uncomfortable topics.
That's it. Thank you. Thank you so much for the few minutes we had. I appreciate it a lot. I'm at thedependentagent.com. I know you're at Crazy Shit in Real Estate. I love it. I really love the content. It's always good learning something and keeping some sanity and levity in it too. That's always a good thing. That's the best part.
That's our business, right?
It is. Yeah. And that helps the anxiety. And I watch it for some of my mental therapy. So thank you. Good laugh makes you feel good all the time.
Thanks for having me on the show, and I can't wait to see what you do with this project.
Thank you. Take care.